What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. There's lots of exciting news to go over here this week. Before I get into the news though, I first want to mention that I'm on location in Detroit here, where I'm filming the review of the Silverado EV and Equinox EV, so stay tuned for those videos coming here in the next couple of weeks. So it's a noisy street out there, so if you hear a bunch of ambient noise and cars revving and stuff, that's why. I also want to mention I'll be doing my usual weekly live stream here on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time, so join if you can. It's always a fun time hanging out and talking cars. But getting into the news here this week, the most interesting thing here was Motor Trend recently spoke with GM's president Mark Russ about the next Camaro, and he dropped some interesting info about at least what's being considered for the next gen Camaro. He said if he had it his way, it would be electric, but not a crossover, with athletic dynamics and a low price point to get it back to its pony car roots and broaden its appeal instead of the big horsepower track focus approach of the past. He said he envisions a coupe-like four-door, but one that has better visibility, again chasing that broader appeal. And as far as how cheap it would be, he said pricing could be similar to the Equinox EV, meaning about $35,000 before tax credits, and would effectively be starting at around $27,500 when you factor that in. If they decide to do that approach, which is a big if, and make it a reality though, it would mean waiting until the Ultium production ramps up to a point where it brings battery costs low enough to make the car feasible at that price point. And so it sounds like it's far from decided yet. I mean, they're still debating what kind of body style it's going to be, so we're still several years away from seeing a new Camaro of some form or another, and could even not come back to. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think that, this makes a lot of sense. Like, that's what they needed to do with the 6th gen Camaro, is broaden the appeal, better visibility, more space, bloat it up, essentially, make it bigger. I think that's part of why, Mustang and Challenger had the success they had, especially Challenger, having a bigger back seat, easier to live with. And so I think he's on the right path here, especially, again, if it comes in at that low of a price point and it's not some huge horsepower thing. I think there's a market for that, yeah, so I think this is really, really promising. And again, this is just what he wants. There's other people involved in these discussions that can sway it different directions, and the accountants have to sign off on all this as well. So far from a done deal, but I mean, the president of the company, this is what he wants. So hopefully he wins out. It's not, he doesn't have enough pull, so hopefully this is what ends up happening at some point in the future. I'll also briefly mention as an aside, there was that ad that was supposedly run in the back of Car and Driver this past week talking about Pontiac making a comeback. It's been really strange because TFL was doing a bunch of reporting on this in a little reel that they posted, that apparently GM said they have nothing to do with this, but Car and Driver is not really saying anything yet, so I'm not sure. I mean, that's, unless they had an empty ad space, they just wanted to fill it for fun, at Car and Driver, and it wasn't like they had to sell it to anybody. They just did it as a thing to fill the page or something. I have no clue what's going on there. Hopefully we get more info on that down the road as well. But, a fun idea about the idea of, Pontiac coming back, but I think it's highly unlikely. They could pull a Hummer thing, like, bundling that in with GMC and call it the Chevy Pontiac Trans Am, or, something like that with GMC Hummer. Maybe, but I mean, again, they can't even decide on what they want to do with Camaro. I don't think anyone's even remotely considering anything like a Pontiac return if they can't even figure out Camaro first, So, I don't know what that was about, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. And yeah, it's a very strange thing, but I don't think it's anything legit, to be completely honest. Anyway, though, moving on here, Porsche has announced that the full reveal of the refreshed 992.2 version, the 2025 model year of the Porsche 911, will be happening, that debut, on May 28th. And if past reports are accurate, an awesome new flat six engine, I believe they said it's going to be a 3.5 liter, could potentially be coming in here, along with what we've been hearing already was a hybrid version coming. And this is something that they teased here this week, and they revealed that this hybrid version of the 911 will be 8.7 seconds faster around the Nürburgring than the corresponding version of the predecessing model. So not sure where this fits into the lineup and what this would be you know, what would be the predecessor to this, but you know, that is what they're saying so far. Porsche's brand ambassador that set that lap time also added that we have more grip, significantly more power, and the spontaneous response of the performance hybrid is a great advantage. We also get a look at the car there, and the black wrap, you know, should have some minor tweaks like we see for any refresh 911. You know, nothing going to be super big most likely, but it sounds like there's going to be a lot of great mechanical changes, and so I'm looking forward to seeing that full reveal here in 2 weeks. Bentley has also given us more info here on the new Continental GT just 1 week after they revealed their ultra hybrid performance plug-in hybrid powertrain. And we also get a look at the new car in camo for the first time here, which appears to be a light refresh consisting of new headlights with a line accompanying the traditional round headlamps there, plus a new bumper. And I'm sure there's gonna be some other changes we can't see yet, but we do know now how much power this motor is gonna put out here. And it's a healthy 771 horsepower and 738 pound-feet of torque, plus 50 miles of electric range. Now that's a generous figure, most likely based on the WLTP European testing cycle, which is very easy, but you know, still should have solid real electric range plus a ton of power. Sounds like the best of both worlds there, and that's all the info we have for now, but full debut of that one's happening next month, so cool to see that. And back in February, we learned that the production of the quadrifoglio models of the Alfa Romeo Giulia and Stelvio will be ending in June for the US, with ordering closing at the end of April already. But somewhat confusingly this week, Alfa has announced the Giulia and Stelvio Super Sports, which are a final farewell to these vehicles that I guess extends that ordering and production window, with Alfa saying that these won't be delivered until the fall. The name also unfortunately overpromises and underdelivers, with it actually doing 15 less horsepower than last year's 100th Anniversario editions, and just making the standard 505 horsepower from that twin-turbo V6. All these ones get, in addition to being the last gas quadrifoglio models ever made, they get black quadrifoglio badges, carbon fiber accents, a darker appearance for everything else you can see there, along with red carbon fiber inside. The price for one of these is also pretty crazy, costing $5,400 more for the Giulia and $7,000 more for the Stelvio, at $88,365 for the Stelvio and $95,965 for the Stelvio. Sorry, I meant the Giulia for the last one there. But pricing is pretty much irrelevant anyway, because you know they're only going to be making 275 of the Giulias, and only 72 of those are coming to the United States, and the Stelvio is going to be even rarer, with only 175 of those for the world and just 52 for the US. And so it sounds like they said ordering is like you can still like reserve one, so I guess they're not already sold. But so sounds like this is I'm guessing your final actual chance to get one of these, even though they, again, it seems like it was already like a done deal, you know, last month, but now there's another chance. So I don't know, but anyway, cool to see that. Weird name, you know, for this, but you know, again, always happy to see more quadrifolios. It'll be sad to see those finally go here soon. Speaking of vehicles coming to the US though here this week, one major development was that the Chinese electric vehicles that we've been hearing about from various different companies won't be coming to the US, most likely due to tariffs imposed this week by the Biden administration that raised the tariffs on electric vehicles made in China from 25% to now about 102%. So this still leaves the door open for Chinese EVs built in Mexico and elsewhere in North America to find their way into the States, but you know, most likely they're not going to do that, and this, you know, means at least stuff coming straight from China isn't going to happen anymore. And while this is targeting those Chinese companies in particular, the companies that are hurt most right now by this announcement were all the Geely companies. So Polestar, Volvo, and Lotus are all getting screwed by this. So there is no announcement that's been made by those companies just yet, but it also, I mean, it almost certainly means that the Polestar 2 will go off the market because the Polestar 2 is built in China. So, I mean, Polestar 2 sells, you know, in decent numbers and is a great Model 3 alternative from, you know, what I've seen. Haven't driven a Polestar 2, but sad that that's going to go away. Like overnight, they have to stop selling them immediately unless they want to pay the tariff. And Polestar 3 was already planned to start production in their South Carolina factory this summer. So that may get delayed a little bit while Polestar figures out if they can build all 3 cars there at the same time, because I think the 3 was supposed to start with Chinese production here for the States and then transition, you know, later this summer to the South Carolina factory. I guess those Chinese cars will now be off the table and they'll just have to wait till the South Carolina stuff comes online for that one. And then they also have to figure out the 4, because the Polestar 4 was also supposed to be built in China. You know, now do they just stuff all 3 of those vehicles into the same factory? If that's even possible, I don't know. You know, so this is all stuff, I guess this is why they're probably trying to come up with a, you know, plan B here for this. You know, and yeah, so also it's going to be a bummer for the Volvo EX30, also built in China for now, that was already facing delays and should have been here, you know, pretty soon, if not already. And now that will have to wait until the Belgium production, which was already planned, but that's coming online sometime in 2025. So, you know, initially it was going to be, again, Chinese cars coming out first, just to, you know, hit the first, you know, model year or so here, and then, you know, later production. But sounds like that now, most likely they're going to be forced here for the States to wait till that Belgian production in 2025. So we're probably not going to see EX30 realistically until, you know, sometime mid 2025 or maybe even 2026 for those, which is a shame, because I mean, that's an affordable little, you know, what are they saying, $35,000, $40,000, you know, EV that seems really attractive and appealing. And unfortunately now we have to wait, you know, an extra, you know, year or 2 or more, you know, for those. So that's unfortunate. Lastly, this is a huge blow to Lotus, who just started importing the Elettra to the United States. I actually just saw my first one last week. I was like, holy crap, it's an Elettra. I didn't know they were even selling them here already, but they are. But not anymore, because that is also built in China. This also throws a wrench in their plans for the Amea, which was the sedan version of that. That one I don't think has gone into production yet, you know, but that is coming. We're supposed to come soon. I don't know what Lotus is going to do. I don't know if they can shift production to somewhere else, but that is going to be, you know, a giant pain. I guess Lotus is now wishing they kept production in the UK for those. So we will see what they do with that. But the handful of Elettras that are in the States, I'm assuming will now be very, very valuable for those who want those, because no other ones are coming for the foreseeable future. Again, maybe they'll surprise us and they all say, oh, we're good, we'll shift production in a few months or something. But it sounds like Elettra is going to be forbidden fruit now for, you know, a while, if not forever. We will see. They'll have to reassess, you know, the cost differences of shipping production somewhere else versus how much they'll make off selling them in the States. They might just give up on the States altogether again. We'll see. So that's unfortunate for Lotus as well. I think they did say that there was some new Lotuses coming down the road that would be built in the UK still, and that was part of the plan. So maybe, you know, the sports cars will still come back at some point. I don't know what's going to happen, but, you know, really, again, Giulia just is the one that got hit the hardest this week with that news for now. And, you know, we will see, you know, what other companies do. It sounds like there's talk that the Mexican kind of production stuff could also face new rules and tariffs if, you know, BYD and other companies try that to get and just put those walls up to prevent the Chinese vehicles from coming into the States. So that's the way that the government's playing that one, you know, and so we will see, you know, how this all plays out. But for now, no Chinese EVs anytime soon here, even ones not from Chinese brands technically. Moving on here though, Kia has revealed the refreshed EV6 this week that we'll probably be getting as a 2025 model year vehicle. And as you can see, it gets a new front end with more angular lights, along with lighter tweaks to the back end there. Inside it gets the new screen setup from other new Kias, along with wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, thankfully, finally. There's also 10 airbags now and even a thicker B-pillar, they say, which is supposedly for refinement purposes, but should also help with safety and that, you know, side impact crash testing and all that. And there's also some more sound deadening elsewhere, along with retuned dampers, they say. So hopefully the ride will be a little bit better. Mechanically, it sounds like the motors are the same, but the battery gets the same upgrade as the Ioniq 5, which means going from a 77.4 kilowatt hour battery to an 84 kilowatt hour battery. And it can still do a 10% to 80% charge in just 18 minutes, thanks to that very fast 350 kilowatt charging that they're rated for, at least. And so unfortunately, it doesn't get the addition of the rear wiper like the Ioniq 5, which is the biggest miss of this car in my opinion. It's great the Ioniq 5 is getting that. Not sure why Kia didn't get that. But anyway, there's no pricing or release date for the US version of this yet. Hopefully we'll get that info soon. But anyway, yeah, interesting to see that. One US Kia debut that we did get this week was the 2025 Sorento Hybrid. And there's nothing really big here to report. It just rejoins the lineup with the same refresh styling inside and out that recently we saw debut on the regular 2024 Sorento, which I guess will have a short model year because we're already talking about 2025s coming here in a few months. And 2024 Sorentos are just now arriving. I'm going to be getting one to review here relatively soon, but you know, we're already talking about going into the next model year. But anyway, also sounds like powertrains are they're all carryover. Same 227 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque from a 1.6 liter turbo 4 combined with electric motor, running through a 6-speed auto. Front-wheel drive is still standard, but all-wheel drive is available on the EX and standard on the SX Prestige, which are the only 2 trims for the hybrid here still. And prices rise on both of them, going up $1,700 on the base one to $40,065, and there's a steeper $4,100 increase on the top version for a total of $48,265 for that one. So, I mean, they added some content there in the upper end. It's got a suede headliner. I guess cooled seats weren't standard before on that version and now are. So there's a couple things there, but yeah, it's a big price increase for that one. And so they'll be arriving later this year alongside the plug-in hybrid version. What they said, which I'm assuming will also just get the same stuff and be carryover, but we'll have to wait and see. But good that that's, you know, coming back. Subaru this past week had an interesting announcement on an earnings call. They said that their next 3 EVs coming in 2026 will now all come from partnerships with Toyota. Previously, we had thought that, you know, it was just going to be BZ4X and Solterra, and the rest of the stuff would be Subaru doing their own, you know, homework here. But sounds like they're going to kind of share notes here a little bit, because their CEO explained why they're doing this partnership again, saying, at the moment, it is quite difficult to predict how things will go from here with EVs. There is a huge risk for us to go it alone in this field. We have held talks with Toyota and have agreed it is better to reduce risks through joint development. And so according to Automotive News, one of these will be built by Subaru in Japan, along with another being built by Toyota in the US here, which rumors suggest may end up being the coming 3-row EV that they already committed to building in Kentucky. And the recent rumors are suggesting that that model was originally going to be called like BZ5X or BZ6X or something, could now maybe be called Highlander, to, you know, kind of give a stronger differentiation now between Highlander and Grand Highlander, if Grand Highlander stays gas and Highlander stays electric. That was just a recent report from a few weeks ago I covered, but, you know, we'll see if that turns out to be true or not. But whatever it is, Subaru's going to probably get a version of that. And I mean, it makes sense. You know, Ascent is a, you know, pretty decent seller, and so yeah, doing a 3-row EV certainly is going to be a good one. There's no word on what the third one would be with this Toyota partnership. I would venture a guess that it's going to be something smaller. You know, we've seen like the BZ3X, you know, that they showed off in the past couple of years here that China already gets, I believe. But I think they were toying with the idea of, you know, a smaller thing for us here in the States. So that would be my guess, is something smaller, kind of Crosstrek sized, you know, EV is going to be the next one there. You know, eventually, again, these will all be coming between like 2026 and 2027, because they also reiterated that they will still develop 4 other EVs in-house at Subaru that are still planned for 2028. And that's assuming that the demand picks up to a point that Subaru is confident that they can actually do this, and this is something worth doing. Obviously, that's going to take a few years to develop, so it's really, you know, they're going to keep their ear to the ground here, I guess, for the next year or so to really, you know, make that call. But they also said in the meantime that they will still plan on, you know, having a bunch of, you know, internal combustion engine stuff as well. They plan to boost hybrid Forester production in Indiana once the Legacy bows out next year. And that powertrain will also most likely be put in the Crosstrek. And yeah, they're going to continue to do more and more hybrids. So I would expect, they haven't detailed what exactly we're getting from a hybrid Forester. They just said a hybrid Forester is coming soon with this 2025 redo. So, you know, whatever that ends up being for that hybrid powertrain, as long as it's a decent amount of power, I would expect it to go into everything currently in the lineup or the next generation versions of those things. So, you know, Crosstrek, Outback should get it, Ascent should get it as well, I'm assuming. And you know, we'll see if Impreza gets it as well, if it actually sticks around, which I'm not convinced that that's even going to stick around considering the fate of the Legacy here. But anyway, so, but yeah, interesting to hear that development. I didn't, you know, realize Toyota was open to, again, letting Subaru have, you know, a bunch of these other models as well. But you know, hopefully it works out okay for Subaru. And you know, I mean, I guess sounds like they're just not super confident about this whole transition here. But one company that is more confident in this EV future is Honda, which announced more investment in EV development here this week, investing a total of $65 billion through 2031 in EVs in various categories, whether it's R&D, you know, marketing, whatever. And they said that Honda has not changed its belief that EVs are the most effective solution in the area of small mobility products such as motorcycles and automobiles. and also added that we will become a front runner in changing lifestyles to attain sustainability goals, not wait for someone else to tackle them. This is refreshing to hear because, you know, most other car companies, you know, it seemed like they were blindsided by this very predictable transition like we see in any other product, especially tech products, where you have early adopters that snatch it up at a premium, but then you got to go to the regular market and boost the incentives and stuff. We see this every year with iPhones. We see this with all kinds of stuff, you know, where it's super hard to get in the beginning. Everyone wants them. And then after that, you know, then you got to start building in the incentives, give away free phones and all this kind of stuff. You know, it's the same thing with the cars, you know, but so many companies are like, oh no, like there's a slight challenge in sales, even though sales of EVs are continuing to increase and gain market share, even if it's at a slower rate, they're still gaining. But, you know, a lot of other companies are like, all right, let's backpedal immediately. Honda's not doing that. And that's, again, just refreshing to see, because literally all I've been talking about this year, it seems, I'm reporting on everyone saying, oh, we're going to like push back all of our plans, and, you know, they're already, you know, waffling and all this stuff. So, you know, this is actually, yeah, kind of commendable in my opinion. And so they also said that, you know, their new EV lineup called the Zero Series, which we saw at CES, you know, the early previews of those concepts, those will begin rolling out to North America starting in 2026 for the production versions. And that they're still on pace for that 2026 launch, and that they expect over 40% of their global sales to be battery EVs and fuel cell EVs by 2030, which amounts to over 2 million electric vehicles. So, you know, serious numbers there, and, you know, I guess we will see. Everyone's making their bets here, and we'll see whose bet pays off, whether it's Honda with doubling down, or, you know, Subaru and Toyota by, you know, keeping their cards close to their chest and, you know, waiting to see what happens. But for some more good future product info, thanks to an earnings report here, Mazda quietly revealed that a new generation of the CX-5 will be coming, despite the continued existence of the CX-50. You know, we had assumed it would be the same as CX-3 and CX-30, where, you know, the one goes away. Not the case here. So the new CX-5 will get a hybrid powertrain that's been developed in-house by Mazda, supposedly. So not sharing Toyota tech like we've been hearing, and what I believe is still coming for CX-50, because they also mentioned in this report that there will be a hybrid CX-50 coming for some markets in the second half of this year. I believe we were one of the markets promised that vehicle, if I remember correctly. So I'd assume that's going to come here, you know, in the next few months at some point. But, you know, it sounds like this CX-5 thing is going to be different if it's an in-house hybrid system. They didn't specify if it's a regular hybrid or possibly a plug-in hybrid, but especially if it's in-house and they're trying to cut costs and save money, I would assume that it's going to be the same plug-in hybrid you see in CX-70 and CX-90. 323 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque. In, you know, a vehicle the size of the CX-5, I mean, it's already, you know, a lot of fun in the CX-90 like I covered last year, but to then put it in CX-5 is going to be, you know, really, you know, a hot hatch kind of the group there, and would be great. They could also, you know, pair it with a, you know, lesser powerful motor, turn down the boosts and, you know, the electric motors or whatever. You know, we'll have to see what they end up doing, but, you know, I think that is most likely the way you can expect this to go. And if everyone's hyping and plug-in hybrids, and Mazda having a plug-in hybrid system right on the shelf ready to go, as long as they have the supply for the batteries and stuff, I would assume it'll be CX-5 with this same plug-in hybrid setup. We'll see. And so anyway, but interesting to get that info here. And there's no timeline on when this new CX-5 is coming, just that it is coming. So, you know, we will have to wait and see on that one. But, you know, good news there, because, I mean, I think it kind of, a new CX-5 kind of gives them a chance to do a redo a bit. CX-50, not like it's a bad vehicle, but, you know, it's not selling as well as CX-5. I think if CX-50 would have taken off the same way CX-5 has done, then, you know, they probably would have gotten rid of CX-5. But I think they're like, all right, CX-50 is doing okay, but clearly people still like what we have with CX-5, and maybe kind of, you know, going closer to that original formula for this next version. And so, yeah, interesting to see that. And lastly, last week, Lucid confirmed a mid-sized SUV starting around $48,000. That'll be coming in 2026. I covered that last week. And now, thanks to some trademark digging by Inside EVs here, we now know the name for this vehicle, and it'll likely be called Earth, with patent applications found not only for Earth, but also Lucid Earth and Earth Dream Edition. And the Dream Edition one is the big giveaway here, because, you know, we've seen that with the Air. I believe Gravity's going to get a Dream Edition as well. And so, you know, this definitely means this isn't like some accessory or something. This is for a vehicle. So, yeah, cool to hear that. I think that name totally makes sense. And, you know, hopefully Lucid makes it to 2026 and you can put out a nice affordable-ish vehicle here. And lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have a few new members that joined this week. 2 of them, thanks to the very generous gifting done by Kyle in last week's live stream here. So huge thanks, Kyle, for your continued support, and big welcome to Jake Liggett and Brent Engstorm for getting those gifted memberships. Also, big thanks to Chad Kelly for becoming a member on their own. I really appreciate the support, and also want to thank Rishi Rana for also gifting a membership as well. So thank you both again for that support, and I hope you're all enjoying the perks so far. All the members here. For anyone else who'd like to join, get access to all those perks, including the priority answering the live stream and the new Discord server, which we've been still having some conversations here and having some fun on the Discord server there. So yeah, don't forget to join that if you haven't already. There's a member post there that you know, has the link to that. But anyway, for anyone who'd like to get all those perks, there's always join buttons here on the video page, on the channel page, and a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. And yeah, please leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.